Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Joe Ellis, Olympus educator and wedding and portrait photographer in Dallas, Texas. And today we're just talking about what's going on in the world and some of the things that you could do in your house right now to kind of kill time as we get past this pandemic. So let's get into it. Okay, so I've been struggling, quite honestly, with you guys as to whether or not it's worth it to make videos right now. Amidst of all of the news and the sickness that's going on in the world, and it's just been a lot to kind of take in. And I sort of was wondering whether, videos on photography and learning photography and enjoying that is something that was worthwhile. But the more I thought about it, I thought all we can really do is stay as safe and happy as we can and do our part to get past this. And if passing the time looking at videos or listening to things that you want to learn is worth it to you while you're cooped up in your house, then I say let's all go for it. So, I also want to say that as a wedding photographer, it's been a particularly rough road. We've had tons of clients had to postpone or reschedule. And of course, nobody's really thinking about their weddings in terms of booking weddings right now. So if you're in the boat of being a professional photographer like I am, or if you're a bride and groom who had to reschedule your wedding, my heart goes out to you. It's been, a struggle, and I look forward to things getting back to normal. So my heart's with you guys, and good luck to all of you. Please stay safe and healthy. Okay, so back to today's video. So, like many photographers right now, used to working alone, I spend a lot of days in front of my computer just editing and doing things like that. The new wrinkle here at the house is having our kids in tow. And while I love having them around, it's also a challenge to come up with ideas of things we can all do together. And one of the things that's really been helping us is we've spent our time in quarantine here, and I think we're on about like day 10, 11, 12, I don't know, it's something like that. We've been in the house for quite a while. But one of the things that's been helping us is to get outside, get a little fresh air every day, maintaining our safe social distances and all of that. But still, we need to get out and kill a little energy and spend a little time getting some sunshine. And so a project that I have enjoyed doing over the years that I learned somewhere back in the day was that you can actually create a scavenger hunt for yourself by picking out letters that you find in the environment to spell a word with your camera. And I think this is a really fun project, not only to kind of keep your mental acuity up and to learn to see better, but also a great way that you can share photography with your kids, because you can certainly do this with any cell phone, camera phone, Olympus camera, whatever you've got. My kids, of course, wanted to go for the most expensive gear possible for this project, but it was fun to watch them come up with ideas and to see how easily they adapt to these kinds of projects. So I want to go ahead and show you what we came up with. And the first one here on my laptop is my sort of Olympus word that I decided to spell. And it's really a pretty easy project. But you can refine it as much as you want to. You could spend years trying to collect the perfect versions of each of these. You could set a time limit to see how many letters you can come up with in 20 minutes or half an hour. Or you could restrict yourself to black and white. You could restrict yourself to a single focal length. There's lots of ways to make this project, as you can imagine, more challenging if you want to. But at a base level, it's a great way to take your camera, go on a walk, and to see something in a new way as you try and pick out letters in the environment. The only rule that I have, usually when I go out and teach this to people or talk to people about it, is that you can't shoot any signs. That way you're not just picking letters that are already formed for you. You're trying to find them as they naturally occur in the environment. So this was mine. These are taken, just in and around the little town we live nearby. And like I said, you can do the same thing whether you're stuck inside your house or if you're out on a walk just through the local park or something like that. Anywhere that you can kind of get or be, even if it has to be, like I said, in your house, you certainly can get this job done. And you can make a really fun game of it with your kids. So they each spelled their names. And so my 9-year-old did Nicholas. And so he found all of these things himself and photographed them. And, like I said, had a great time doing it. And, we had something to do while we were out somewhere to kind of concentrate our minds on a project rather than just strolling for no reason at all. And then my 11-year-old spelled her name. And I think she did a particularly great job here of finding interesting things to take pictures of. And, she might even want to print this and put it on her wall. So Vivian spelled her name with these pictures. And just to give a real quick look at what those were, this was like some graffiti that was out. a handle on a door, a lamp, something we found on a wall, a railing on a staircase for an E, paint, and those are just real simple things. But it was fun for her to kind of have that exercise of going through and finding letters and really seeing how she can crop and see things in new and interesting ways. So, like I said, if you want to make this more challenging, don't review the images. Turn the screen around on your Olympus camera, for example, and don't look at what you shot. One of the things that I love to do with students when I get them for the first time is to, and then we used to have to take gaff tape and tape over the back of the camera to keep them from doing this. But with Olympus cameras, you can just flip the screen around. Is spend some time like you would if you, if you're old enough to remember shooting with film, where you couldn't review the photographs until you got back after the process. That really helps you stay in the moment and also keeps you from thinking too technically about this. Use a fixed lens. When I went out and did mine, I just took the 12 to 40 because I wasn't really trying to make this super challenging on myself. But if you like picked a 25 or a 45 or something like that, it would certainly help you kind of concentrate on seeing a single focal length. And I think that learning to see the focal length before you look through the camera is one of the most valuable skills that you can have as a photographer, so that you can be lensing before the moment happens. And whether that's a zoom or a prime, like for example, on a wedding day, I carry a 17 and a 45 on me for a lot of the day. And I know exactly, or pretty much exactly, where those frame lines are going to fall before I bring the camera to my face. And that really helps me get in position and anticipate moments and see photographs more easily. Give it a time limit. So, I don't think all of us are spending a lot of time outside these days, but if you're in your house, you could make this a scavenger hunt for half an hour or an hour or whatever, just to kind of put a time limit on it. And what you can do is just shoot and refine, shoot and refine, shoot and refine. So if you find one letter and that works, then you can move on to the next. Or if you find that letter again, shoot a new version of it and then pick the best one at the end. And then teach it to someone else. One of the great ways to learn anything in life is to have to teach it to someone else. And if you have to teach what you're doing to a child or to a kid or to a teenager, you're going to learn a lot about what you know and don't know in terms of what you're trying to bring across, like composition, lighting, that kind of thing. And then I want to give a couple of technical tips here. So I'm going to boot up a camera and just give you a couple of quick Olympus specific tips on some things that might be fun for you to employ while you work on this project. Okay, so my technical tip for the day actually works for both like my iPhone and my Olympus camera, and that is, what about playing around with different aspect ratios? If you've never done this before, I think this is a great way to kind of exercise your creative muscles and see compositions in new ways. And for example, if you're going to go ahead and do this, spelling with photos experiment with me, and you would maybe want to shoot all your pictures in a square format, just for uniformity's sake when you go to put together the final piece. So if you want to do that, what you would do on your Olympus camera is just go to the Super Control panel, and then right here, you can actually choose between the standard 4:3 ratio, 16:9, 3:2, and maybe you would want to use 1:1. And the really nice thing is if you shoot raw, you're not actually cropping all the pixels out of the frame. You can actually go back and you can adjust this after the fact. So you're still shooting in the native 4:3 ratio, but you're going to see through the viewfinder this square. And then when you bring it up after importing, a lot of programs will show you those crop lines that you had. So you can go ahead and get the exact square that you composed with. So that's changing aspect ratios. And I think that that's a really powerful tool because, like, composing in a square, when you think about rule of thirds or the golden ratio or working with triangles and things like that, all of those things take on a new dimension when you're working in square because of how symmetrical things can be. So if you're looking for a challenge or you just want to kind of see things a little bit differently for a little while, go ahead and put that camera into that square aspect ratio and then try out a bunch of new things. And then the other tip I have is that if you've never experimented with changing your picture profile, now is another great time to go in there and really dive into that. Because again, if you're shooting raw, you can go back and change any of these parameters after the fact. You haven't really lost any flexibility, but what you see through the camera can vastly affect how you compose and how you see. And that's one of the great things about seeing through the viewfinder, or how you set your camera up with an Olympus camera, that makes it really fun. So for example, I have my camera right now set to black and white mode. And if I wanted to go and change it, you just go up here to the upper right-hand corner of the Super Control Panel, and you can click through all of your different camera profiles. And I would normally shoot in natural, but there's monochrome, and then of course you've got all these art filters in here, which are just different ways to see color and see light and see contrast. And what's really fun about that, like I said, is that you haven't lost anything, but as you look through the viewfinder, it's going to give you very different ideas of ways that you can see and compose images than you would shooting straight color like we do most of the time. So those are my 2 technical tips for the day, guys. I hope that everybody is staying safe and as happy as they can be. I would also just want to throw out there, if anybody would like to have some mentoring or coaching, I would be happy to take those. I'm looking for video ideas. I think it'd be fun to jump on a call and talk through any problems that you're having or challenges or things that you want to learn in terms of, event photography, portrait photography, wedding photography. Those are all things that I love to talk about. And we could certainly set that up. So if that's of interest to you, hit me up via email in the description of this video, or you can always go through my website. Anyway, thanks you guys. Thanks for watching. Like I said, stay safe, and we'll see you all in the next one.